Hi, my name is Mariateresa Pullano, and I'm the paper conservator at Gothenburg Museum of Art in Sweden.
Is Tanja Axelryd, and I work as an exhibition coordinator, also at Gothenburg Museum of Art. In this presentation, we would like to share our experience of installing two big exhibitions during the COVID pandemic, one in 2020 and one in 2021, when the museum was temporarily closed for a period of 5 months. We want to start by giving you some background information about the two exhibitions before we will talk about the challenges we met. Gothenburg Museum of Art is the third biggest art museum in Sweden. Particularly, the collection of works on art on paper is quite large and includes more than 70,000 objects. When the pandemic started to spread in Europe in early 2020, Swedish authorities decided to take a different approach with restrictions than many other countries and gave only recommendations to people, such as keeping physical distance, keeping rooms ventilated, avoid crowds, and practice good hand and respiratory hygiene. And of course, most important, staying at home at the slightest symptom of disease. The different regions in Sweden had the autonomy to decide whether to keep public institutions open or to close them down, depending on how much the infection was spreading in that region. The region and city of Gothenburg decided to keep the museums open for as long as possible, but with a limited visitors number. In November 2020, however, the museum had to close temporarily due to a high number of infections spreading in the region. The exhibitions were, of course, planned way before the pandemic started. The first one, a large retrospective about the Danish artist and illustrator Ingrid Vang Nyman. The other titled focused on Europe, New Objectivities 1919 to 1939, focusing on the new objectivity art movement between World War I and II. The Ingrid Vang Nyman exhibition was planned to open in the fall of 2020, a time when the museum was still able to keep open to a limited number of visitors. The larger number of works displayed were on paper and borrowed from Vejen Art Museum in Denmark, the National Library of Sweden, and private collections in Stockholm. Additionally, a good number of works of paper from our own collection was included. Ingrid Vang Nyman's drawings are perhaps among the most well-known in Sweden, and they contributed to revolutionizing children's book illustrations. Her breakthrough as an illustrator came in 1945 when Vang Nyman received a commission to illustrate Astrid Lindgren's Pippi Longstocking. Focus on Europe was the first exhibition in Sweden presenting the new Objectivities art movement, which started in the 1920s within an international context. The exhibition displayed both paintings and artworks on paper. Since the context of the exhibition was international, it wouldn't have been possible to create this exhibition without generous loans from lenders from many different countries. In the end, we had the possibility to exhibit 82 artworks on loan from other institutions. Of these, 53 were from other countries than Sweden, including 20 different lenders from 8 different countries: the Netherlands, Germany, Belgium, Austria, Great Britain, France, Norway, and the USA. The rest of the loans, that is 29, were from Swedish lenders from 13 different cities and institutions. And it might be added that also domestic traveling was restricted during this time. Since the exhibition opened a bit later in time and was displayed over summer, there was some relief in restrictions, and the museum was able to keep open for the duration of the exhibition. However, much of the planning was performed during the time when the museum was temporarily closed, and most staff was working remotely. So, after this very brief introduction to the two exhibitions, we'd like to mention a few challenges that we met in the planning and during the installation due to the pandemic. In the installation of Ingrid Vang Nyman exhibition, which was the first of the two, the challenges were mainly because we didn't have any previous experience with digital couriering. Luckily, many international organizations such as AIC, ICOM and ICON, reacted quite quickly in making official statements or webinars, a great help for us to navigate in these new conditions. And we as staff got full support from our head of collection and exhibition to participate and to gain as much knowledge as possible. And gathering knowledge was crucial to go forward in these projects. In my role as exhibition coordinator, I handle a lot of the contacts with lending institutions, and it became quite clear quite quickly that the loans were going to be a challenge. Communications took a lot longer time, with many contacts on part-time or full-time furlough. And knowing that physical couriers wouldn't be possible, we quickly decided to switch our focus to digital couriers and to offer our lenders a clear plan for how that would go about, since this was a new way of working for a lot of institutions. This, however, meant that a lot of details concerning the loan and the handling of the artwork itself must be agreed upon in advance, something that proved to be quite time consuming and difficult since a lot of people had to work remotely and they had no physical access to the artworks to be lent. So, questions regarding, for example, mounting systems or other things directly connected to the physical artworks could sometimes be hard to find the answers to. One of the solutions that we found very valuable was to book digital pre meetings with all the lenders. These pre-meetings were scheduled by me and our museum conservators. The focus was to establish a relationship and a contact, but also to go through the most important questions before the actual installation. This proved to be crucial in making the unpacking and installation well planned, since there was already an agreement and a clear plan. So this was our courier schedule, and I don't expect you to see the details of it. I just want to visualize it for you. As you can see, it was quite packed, and therefore it was important to make everything as smooth as possible. Of course, we also needed to keep everyone involved in the installation at the museum safe and to make sure that we did everything we could to prevent anyone getting sick. We therefore worked in 3 closed teams. That's the different colors you see in the schedule. There's Team Blue, Team Pink, and Team Green. The teams had as little contact as possible in order to prevent any spread of infection. We spent a lot of time with digital couriers and we learned a lot. Mariateresa will shortly tell you more about the technical devices that made our work easier. However, I'd like to mention that there was also lenders that wished for complementary digital records, such as films of the handling of artworks, photos, and live updates of transports. Smartphones can handle most of it, and we, for example, use the digital communication and log tool Slack for live updates for those who require that. An easy tool to keep everyone involved in the loop. Digital tools offers a lot, but it is also important to remember that it takes a lot of time, especially the first time you use it. So having a time buffer is crucial.
During the Ingrid Vang Nyman exhibition, when the museum was closed temporarily, the challenge for us conservators was to coordinate and maintain all the normal monitoring routines, like keeping a regular schedule for cleaning the floors to control insects activity, or, for example, minimize the light exposure, like shutting down or switching the lights on when necessary. The management encouraged everyone that could to work remotely, but staff that needed to be present on site, like us conservators, always had access to the building. For this reason, we were able to keep our routines. A practical and important tool when there is limited access to the building is an environmental control system which can be accessed remotely. In 2021, the museum got the opportunity to have a trial with Conserve, a new environmental monitoring and integrated pest management system. In a situation like the pandemic, this product proved to be very helpful because it's user-friendly and can be shared effectively across departments. Because we had digital couriers, we also started a discussion on sustainability related to carbon footprint. We measured with a simple app how much carbon dioxide emissions we spared with 10 digital couriers. This quick calculation covered round trip flights for both installation and deinstallation, giving the results of 15,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions saved. But start digging into this topic, we also understood how complex these calculations are. So this number is approximate, but can give us an idea. Another thing to perhaps think about is how these results could be useful. For example, shall we consider all emissions, or shall we also compensate them with carbon offsetting? These are all interesting and collateral questions which the pandemic forced us to look upon. Good technical devices are crucial to have a positive installation. Because we had a healthy budget for both exhibitions, we could buy extra tools like power banks, a stand with wheels, which was very easy to handle and move around, and also a gimbal for filming to avoid the seasick effect for the courier watching remotely. In fact, the gimbal proved to be better for walking longer distance, for example, from the storage to the exhibition room and vice versa. In conclusion, we learned a lot, but there are things that can be improved and developed.
My point of view as a coordinator, the main challenges were to switch to a digital installation with the time that we had and the resources that we had. We didn't have any routines. I mean, working digitally has a lot of pros, but one of the biggest cons is that it is quite time consuming. And let's not forget that even though working digitally could be better for the environment and also for the project budget, we could also lose something in networking and knowledge sharing between institutions.
Despite the difficulties working first time in a large scale with digital couriers, we would like to mention a few important practical things that we learned. It is helpful to have an environmental monitoring and EPM system which can be easily managed remotely. The most difficult part in condition report was to show properly an unmarked damage to the courier. For this, it can be necessary to make close-up pictures and add them to the documentation, which of course increase the time and the resources. For some of the works, there were insufficient instructions for the hanging system. So we thought maybe that it would be ideal to get more information forehand, or even get a small video with the instructions. It was useful for the team, us conservators, the coordinator, and the art handlers to agree upon how to communicate during the installation. For example, like minimizing excessive noises by shutting down the ringtones, or like how to be aware of the camera when we were moving around the object which was handled. It was very good to inform the courier of the areas where the Wi-Fi was low or like not working at all, like in the elevator, to prevent miscommunications and lost calls. It is also very important to take in consideration the acoustic of the room, so to decide what to use, like a wireless earpiece or the speakerphone. We also carefully planned how the crates were put in the exhibition room, so we could move the safest way to unpack and pack while we were filming. In the end, what we are taking from this experience during the pandemic, installing this very too big exhibition, is that we learn that we are resilient and we can learn quickly new skills, even in a very challenging, extraordinary situation. But with that said, a trustworthy team and a supporting manager, which is aware to put extra resources, are essential. Thank you.